Hello, lovelies. Long time no video, and apologies for not being able to share my journey with you. And so much I wanted to say at so many times, but I just have not had the time or the energy to do that, as I've been going through a huge passageway myself. And I'm sure that this is true for you too, because this is what the time is on planet Earth right now. So today it's Sunday, October the 15th, and it is Blue Galactic Eagle Day, and we're in Yellow Star Wavespell. And we're coming down to the last few days of this 260-day cycle. So we are here. Blue Eagle being the 15th line sign, which is the planetary sign. So apologies for the background noise. So I've got my kitten Ra running around, and he's out having his freedom at the moment. So that's one of the key things that I've had to work with, which was complete surprise because I found Ra out in a shopping mall. Heard his cries and came back later on the day, coaxed him out, and he's been living with us ever since. I can't do his mind sign because I don't know what he is, but he's either a Cancerian or a Leo, and he was born just around the time of the new Mayan year. You see a shadow in the background. So although it's been super intense, it's also been very magical, and I've been seeing lots of patterns and lots of different things happening with a new conscious awareness. So lots to share with you. I'm going to try and keep it as focused as I can, and share the insights that I've had, the downloads that I've had as I become clearer. Also building towards a very intense time for me, which is November, and again, Scorpio time. We're in Scorpio moon today, and this, of course, is a waxing moon, still dark moon, and I'm just going to read you that degree while we're there. I was looking back at some old videos of mine as well, back in 2016. Amazing the difference in energy back then. And again, totally links into today. I just love the synchronicities of it all. So as always, I'm just sharing my own experience and my own perception based on where I am on my journey. That's all we do. Each one of us, the more conscious we become, as in we become more consciously aware of ourselves and our patterns and what needs to heal. That's the most important thing for everybody as a planetary server. Today, we are focusing on integrating the previous final blue 13-day process of Blue Eagle, and the planet is Jupiter, which is a mastery planet, because our patterns expand, and my perception of that is so that we can become more consciously aware of them. They get louder and louder and bigger and more emotionally resonant. Our challenges become more powerful until we address them. So Scorpio 1 degree, a tunnel through a mountain. When darkness comes, you need more darkness if you're ever going to find the light. I'm just going to stop there. Just let that sit, that statement of truth. This is the shadow work. This is whatever's blocking out the light. This is the eclipse of yesterday. As the struggle of Earth existence descends upon you, you must find a way to harness the power of that struggle to turn death into rebirth. But it's so pressurized and absolutely relentless a path to walk. Isn't it just right now? Everything you meet reflects the same destiny dilemma. Or you're being pulled through the collective nightmare by an immense evolutionary force. And that means feeling everything, experiencing all of it, and letting everything go. Those pulled into such a radical track develop core perseverance magnificently and learn to be light whilst super heavy, and to stay loose while bearing down in tight passages. Eventually, glorious things happen and you can emerge into a whole other reality, knowing how purposeful every step has been, that all of it was necessary and redemptively built a character strength of a mighty fibre as you knew it would. Wow, you know, that's so powerful in itself. And relates to yesterday, which was White Resonant Wizard, and the 13-year cycle that we're in on the planet of what is resonating with our empowerment issues. These are the cards that I pulled for yesterday. And two fell out. I had a very emotionally challenging day yesterday and dark night of my ego. I just want to show you this. This is a book that I got yesterday from the library, perfectly. And after I'd done the cards, I began reading it. And it's about tarot. It's a fictional work, supposedly. Nothing is fiction though, of course, but it's all channeled. And there you go. So if you want to read that in full, just pause the video. This is an author I haven't read before. And I always trust that trying out new things. So the sun is the 20th sign, and the 20-day process runs from red dragon to yellow sun. The age that's coming in, why we have to become emotionally clear and free and solution focused through healing. And this is the 13-day cycle of seeing where we're at in the 260-day picture before we go into the next one, which is at the late degrees of Libra and the balance. And it's remembering that Libra is the only sign that is not a being. Every other sign has a being in it. If you look at Egyptian transformation information, put it that way, if you look at their belief system about weighing the heart and how that affects what happens next in the next life. And all of this is about emotional transformation. It's about healing. Everything that's happening now is being orchestrated by people who want to keep people in survival mode, and the people involved in it who are in survival mode will be experiencing that. And we're all in that in some way. But again, this is going back to Red Dragon. This is the start. This is a survival code. And this is where we have to be able to transcend our survival patterns and codes in order to thrive. So with lots of the experiences that people are having at the moment, they are in extreme survival mode because they are being under threat of violence, experiencing disempowerment on a massive scale all across the world. And this has been going on for a very long time. And my heart just goes out to everybody who is having to go through this process. And, you know, what I just read, the eclipse, all our old patterning, all these distortions of natural time. So again, if you do your research on this, you will see that the general calendar that we use, the Gregorian calendar that we use, generally speaking in the Western world, in most of the world, takes us away from natural time. So it's so important for people, if you want to really connect with nature and source and start becoming the real you, the authentic you, this process is a synergizer, it's a synergizer, and it helps us get off this old programming on one level. Wherever each person is in terms of their human evolution is reflecting their experience at this time on the planet. And there is nothing that we can do about that, because it is what it is in terms of what they're going to experience. Of course, we can be compassionate, we can be kind, and remember that each one of us as a planetary server has to integrate our past story, has to awaken and start to heal. That's the most important thing. If we do not heal, if we do not change our heart pattern, we cannot embody our spirit more. We cannot take different paths. And this is a fundamental truth. Otherwise, we are doomed to keep repeating unconscious patterning. And so it's so important that people start to become aware of that and ask for help from source. We are always held by the goddess returning. It's what we're here to do, and it's why it is such a challenging time, because we cannot keep doing the same things, believing that we will create something new. Anybody who's into personal development and knows these truths, I mean, these are absolute truths. You cannot keep doing the same behavior that hurts you, using addictive substances, using poisons, being in toxic situations. You know, it's just a complete denial of what is. There are things that create health and life, and there are things that don't. And many of the things that we have been taught to believe, conditioned to believe, are how to live, are the absolute opposite of that. And they create so much suffering, not only for us as beings, but for other beings as well. Because the way that things are happening on planet Earth, it has to stop, and it will stop, because we are moving into a place of evolving how we relate. So back to Libra and the scales and being in balance, and that has to be on the inside. If we are not in a place of peace on the inside, then it is impossible for us to experience peace on the outside, because that is not how the holograph that we're in works, in my understanding. So to go back to this last wave spell. Okay, so we started off here in Aquarius time, and this whole 260-day cycle has taken us through 52 days of awakening, refining, transforming, manifestation, and now we're in the green castle of enchantment to see exactly where we are. Each 52-day cycle has red, white, and blue 13-day processes that take us through the 20 signs. A good exercise can be to check out the eclipse energy, which is White Wizard, and the 13-year cycle we're in, because that takes a loop and it goes through each of these signs. Another way to look at this as well is look at where each resonant sign is. And so this is a matrix that shows what's happening in terms of the bigger picture, in terms of our universe and the astrology and the patterning, and how these cycles repeat and repeat and repeat over and over again. And we just completed a big Pluto in Capricorn event, and in January it will be going into Aquarius. So this again relates to the age of Taurus and the new age of Aquarius, where we start to realize how we are continually reliving our emotional struggles, because this is how we're wired. And this is how the universe is wired, to keep bringing us these challenges, because that's the only way that we can change, is to keep revisiting and become masters of ourselves. That's the most important thing. And to realize just how amazing we are as human beings, because we've been sold a story that is a complete lie about health and about how we have to rely on other people to keep us well. This is so disempowering. And I don't know about you, but at the time of the eclipse, I was going through an event at that time, and it just epitomized everything around the masculine and feminine, which is somehow that feminine has been deemed weak and unable to do anything without the aid of the masculine. That's the whole, thousands of years of this have been going on, when the opposite is true. This is the ultimate gaslighting. And I'm not talking about men and women, I'm talking about each person believing that they don't have their own answers, that they don't intuitively know what to eat, where to live, how to live their life, how to create their dream. And that other people are always telling them that they know better, that they can do it for them, that they will just take their dream plan and completely design them a new one. And, you know, this is this push to be aligned with people's vision of a world that is so corroded, corrupted, that is so out of balance, that is so controlling and dark, that comes from a place of huge shadow, no healing going on. Thousands and thousands of years worth of dark, controlling energy that has lost the ability to connect to the source. Because when we're in these huge survival events, then how can we ground? How can we keep clear-headed? But that is our challenge, our biggest challenge, the Blue Storm challenge. And the next 13-year cycle that will come is what we're working towards. So right now in the 13-year cycle that we're in, we're looking for all our disempowerment issues coming up and healing them, looking at what created them. How did we get to be in that situation? And how to create changes in our own personal behavior so that we do not carry on this codependent, disempowering pattern. Because in our hearts of hearts, we know when we are being crushed, when we are being coerced, when we are being under constant pressure to be something that we're not. And that's what's showing up right now. And in particular, whatever was happening for you yesterday was showing that pattern. Okay, so to go back, so we're here on day 8. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days to go before we start again. And it's in a waxing moon, it's in Libra moon, it's in an energy of relationship to ourselves. How have I been related to in the past? What's still showing up for me? Am I still going to carry on with that, even though I know it doesn't bring me joy and harmony and love? Remember, Libra is ruled by Venus. And so this whole calendar is about the Venus cycles. It's about maturation. It's about coming into a love space and surrender and wisdom rather than war. You've got Mars in Scorpio as well as the moon today. And so it's showing us what action we need to take around our intimacy issues, our intimacy wounding. We can't have truth and authentic relationship when we've still got intimacy issues and we don't feel safe and we feel under threat all the time. Again, though, these survival issues. So just to jump ahead and go to day 5 of this, the mastery day. We'll come back again in a minute to this, but yellow overtone human is the mastery day. And so as a human being, this is the philosopher's stone of myself. So whenever I have a blockage in what's going on in my body energetically, because I can't be in truth, I can't be authentic, I can't say what I feel. And on the world stage now, a lot of that is being changed into a dynamic where people are not going to be allowed. It's already been passed in the UK. People are not going to be allowed to go against the directive of the people in power. They're not going to be allowed to have free speech if it means going against that directive. And this is happening on many platforms now where people are not allowed to speak from their hearts and from this place of clarity. Also, what's very important about the yellow human mastery, what became very, very clear to me on that day as well. Again, you can calculate codes for this, for the people in your family. You can calculate your own 13-day cycles, your own 13-year cycles. And this is what I've come to learn. You know, I'm coming into the end of my 11th year. And I begin anew on the 2nd of November. And my 13-year cycle with this calendar, working with it every day intuitively and, you know, the bigger picture energetically and emotionally of what this actually means. It's Red Skywalker, and you know, my 13-day code that I'm part of. So you've got a Mayan sign that is part of a 13-day code. If you didn't know that, the 13-day process is Blue Storm, and it's in the 52-day process of Red Skywalker. My grandmother was a Red Skywalker, and I am living her pattern. And I absolutely know this to be true because of the research that I have done, not only my family tree, but also with my mum, and just living my life, watching my mum and her life, my daughter's life now, and how these patterns are playing out. And again, showing from my experience, I absolutely know this to be true, that this is how life works with these patterns and codes, and that each generation goes through the process. Most of our generations now have been going through a process of unconscious repeating of patterns and not healing, which is why we are in the situation we are in on planet Earth. And change is happening because people are healing. If people don't heal, if they don't become conscious creators, if they don't start making different choices, then of course things are going to continue, and that's why they continue. And remember, the second new learning day, the second Mayan sign is white wind. We have an avatar, we have a spirit on board who can guide us, who isn't limited by these patterns, who isn't limited by these experiences, who is part of the collective consciousness that is free from trauma, that is free from these human being patterns, and so can guide us. But at the same time, we are where we are. Our intellect will often push us to be something else, and is very stuck a lot of the time in old patterns, is often not wise, is trying to keep us safe. It's the same voice, the same pattern as the shadow, as the trauma, as the controller, who wants us to keep doing the same old same and stay safe, and is largely insane a lot of the time. And what I mean by that is so disconnected to reality, is simply running a past program that's out of date. Okay, so back to Yellow Star. So the last wave spell of Yellow Star. Yellow Star is the 8th Mayan sign. It's connected to Venus, as is Blue Monkey. That's the planet that rules Yellow Star. And as the 8th Mayan sign, it's what's seeking to integrate so that we can be the star that we really are, free from the human being trauma story, shadow story. More and more people are awakening to realizing that. We talk about people being in battle who have trauma, who need to have assistance, therapy, or learn therapeutic processes themselves so they don't keep in this post-traumatic stress, and because they're still living in a battlefield every day, even though they're back in their own hometown, for example. They get triggered whenever they have a pattern match, something that is a replay of what was happening for them in the war zone. And on another level, what we realize now, people who are in the know about how trauma works in the brain and energetically and emotionally, is that we are all in that PTSD process because all our families historically have gone through wars, have gone through trauma, and we recreate those scenarios over and over again, maybe in a lesser way, but it still affects us on a deep level where we think we have to be in drama, in trauma, in traumatic relationships, in toxic relationships, not feeling safe on a deeper level most of the time. It doesn't matter where we are, what material things we have. We can have lots of money. As we can see on the planet, there's people with lots of money who are very sick human beings because money in itself does not fix trauma. Healing fixes trauma. All the rest is the brain getting ahead of where the person actually is, determined to create a beautiful place, determined to create wealth. And as we know, if we watch any of these movies or we read books about it or we read historical facts, some of the wealthiest people have created some of the sickest human being realities. And yet when you talk to some people about that, they don't want to hear that story because they're sick of being poor, they're sick of being bullied, they're sick of being disempowered. So it's understandable that people want to create their own wealth. But that of itself will not free that individual because of these holographic patterns. There's far more to it than that. And that's what we're all learning. All those of us who are wanting to create change for ourselves and therefore create change for the world. If people do not create change for themselves, then their world will not change. It does actually make logical sense if you think about it, but many people cannot see it or hear it because it's not where they are. And in this lifetime, they may never be in that place. Okay, so we begin with yellow star, where we are now after completing this cycle, where we are in our life, what is manifest, and how much are we being the star that we really are. The day of learning, new learning about the emotional story is red moon. And again, if you use this matrix for yourself, you will see what this pattern means for you over and over and over. So for me, that was 50 years old, that pattern, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57. 58 is the current year that I'm in. I'm currently in a 13-year cycle, year 2 of it. And for me, that's red lunar earth. And so I'm seeing what ungrounds me. And the whole of this year is going to be about that for me. What's coming to light about what ungrounds me. And specifically, I have calculated these codes and you can calculate them too. It's simple to do. I have been in a red 13-year cycle from the age of 18 to 30. So everything that I learned back then, everything that I experienced back then, that I awakened to back then. So that's when I went living in Greece, for example. And so I had a plan and it didn't work out how I wanted it to, but I learned what I needed to learn. And there were some amazing, valuable lessons there. I learned so much there, and I am repeating that pattern now as well. So again, I'm expanding that. So I'm growing tomatoes. I went picking tomatoes back then. I knew there had to be more to life than growing up in the north of England and what I was experiencing and what my life was supposed to be. And so I went in search of something else. And of course, now I'm in Florida and I'm learning so much more about that. And again, it's so different to anywhere else I've ever lived. And I know that I'm meant to be here because it was seeded early on in my life. And each day that we have is connected to the past, the present, and the future is made from these combinations. So red moon is the 9th Mayan sign. So we go to the next level. When we start to clear the muddy water, the emotions, stop projecting the story outward, look at where that is coming from within me. And that isn't a just I perspective, it's the sum total of my experiences, everybody in my family, everybody I've ever met, all my life experiences. It's so much more than just me. And again, a lot of these frameworks, they just focus on, oh, well, you're just projecting something that you don't want to see about yourself. It's so much more than that. It can be that as well. And it can be so much more than that. It can be, I'm projecting what other people have been doing in my life as a child and how that affected me. And that level of consciousness. Okay, so then on day 3, we've got white dog, which is the 10th Mayan sign, which is the manifestation. It's a 10th house. And again, you can relate these to the houses in astrology as well. So what is manifest in terms of my conditions, my conditional love experience? How do I do it with other people? How do they do it with me? What mindsets do I have around that? How have I got old patterns still running? How can I connect to my soul, family more and more by healing these? 10th house, heart's desire to be emotionally free and not stuck in depression, sadness, anger, learning how to heal that myself. Emotional freedom technique for me, and how to move beyond it. I had such a magical day on that day. It was amazing. Now, that was day 3, white electric dog. Day 3. So again, seeing where you are, what are you transforming? The alchemy, because we're in the alchemical moon right now. I think it's day 26 today, so we've got 2 more days to go before we go into self-existing moon. So electric moon is bringing in the magnetic moon. What was our magnetic attraction in the first 28 days, which began on the 26th of July, and then moving into lunar moon, where we were seeing the shadow story, which followed on from that, which I think is around about the 3rd of September, if I remember rightly. As we go into Virgo, that's the key time. And then going into the electric moon. Again, I can't remember the dates off the top of my head, but you can Google when that is. So once we go into that alchemical moon, we're then looking at the previous 2 moons, and we're looking at how can I create a change within? And that means emotionally processing, emotionally healing. Without that, the resonance doesn't change, the vibration doesn't change, the wisdom doesn't happen without the healing. You cannot create a change from a place of intellect. That comes later. Then we have day 4. So that is the 11th mind sign, which is Blue Monkey, which is Venus again. Sorry, these two are Mercury. So we just got Mercury, as I say, going into Scorpio. And I'm not sure whether it was in there on Red Moon. It's only just gone in. So before that, it was Mercury in Libra. And that's a powerful sign because it's Libra again, relationships, Librans, harmonizers, people who have vision beyond their current time, Arcturus energy, creating the structure of Arcturus, wisdom, balance, something that's already in place, bringing it in, embodying it, but not trying to do that from, again, a place of, yes, you can make a beautiful place with money, lots of money. You can use Feng Shui as well. You can use lots of different systems to create a space. But if the people in it are not harmonious, then that won't work on a deeper level. So it'll only be on the surface because everything comes from within. What is within creates the reality outside. So blue self-existing monkey means how free are we from our angry child, from our sad child story that's still playing in our head, creating anxiety, creating projections, creating the same old story with different people over and over again because we haven't healed it and we haven't yet learned how to make a shift in our behavior, how to relate to other people. Because if we don't go to a relationship school in whatever way that is, whether it's online, in person, read books, and heal the trauma that was caused before, then we're going to carry on relating to people in the same way, which is just going to create the same dynamic. It is really logical, isn't it? But for a lot of people, it doesn't even cross their mind that they need to go to relationship school because that doesn't factor into the 3D American dream of, I just need to get a degree in something and then I can get a job and I can make a lot of money and all the rest of it is secondary, because that's the programming, isn't it? You know, it's not secondary, it's the most important thing, that we learn how to relate to ourselves, how we tick and how we interact with other people. So then, as I mentioned before, we've got yellow overtone human, which the planet is Earth. What is our current position as a human being on planet Earth? What are we experiencing? How much joy are we experiencing? How healthy are we? This philosopher's stone. And so again, if you do the philosopher's stone, Rosetta Stone would be maybe a better analogy. Okay, so remember when things have been discovered, like in Egypt, they found the Rosetta Stone that had both systems on it. So they could, you know, we now know what that glyph means, that hieroglyph. It means that. So when you use this to translate your personal human being story you then get a much deeper insight as to what's replaying for you. When we talk about the concept of past, present, and future, you can actually work it out and you know what you're replaying on that day. So again, if I go back to mine to try and explain that, so 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, that's where I am. 59, 60, 61 will be when I am in a place of mastery. So I can now be looking at, okay, where do I want to be? What do I want to be doing? And backtrack. Start with the end in mind and also back reference. Okay, so in terms of my personal pattern, whenever I'm in a 13-year cycle of yellow, it's from 5 to 17. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So when I was 9 years old, and there's a big pattern there, and there's a big pattern there ancestrally. 10, 11. So today, when I was 12, and this is how you can cross-reference, and you can use the astrology as well, and you can see your personal map and where you are, and the limitless potential through healing. Otherwise, it's a lot more limited because we're just stuck on that 12-step program, going round and round and not actually going to what's causing the need to have addictions, the need to avoid, to come out of your body, to not be around people, to have intimacy issues, in other words. Okay, so mastering being a human being. Then which is the 12th mind sign. And so again, what we need to get clear about, how we get clear of this old human being story and start to live a healthy new beginning one. And we have to keep going through these patterns and being around people. It's not a beam me up Scotty onto a different planet experience. Whoa, I'm suddenly going to become 5D. And have to do a lot of internal work. And that's Venus in Virgo right now, which again, this is my placement, is about doing this inner work to get clear. Skywalker on day 6, coming into balance. Friday the 13th, what were you experiencing on that day? Friday the 13th of October. Friday historically is a Venus day, and 13th has been made into a bad word number system because it's the opposite of that. It's empowerment, it's the shift, it's the goddess coming back into balance within all of us. And so Mars is the planet for the Skywalker. And again, as I've said, very strong energy for me about conscious dreamer energy, because that's what Red Skywalker is. It's the human being who becomes the Skywalker and is the conduit, so able to bring in that higher wisdom and awareness and have their feet planted on the ground and work with that human being energy within themselves to get clear, grounded, resonant with an empowered, sovereign human being, the real deal, not this convoluted version that we have become over time as a coping mechanism. And I was watching a video actually last night that I did in 2016 about coping mechanisms, and that is so powerful, you know, just to get to a place where we recognize what we do to survive as an individual. And of course, as we do that, we can recognize that in another person as well. Truly, energetically, emotionally, we can have empathy on that deep level. And sometimes that in itself can be overwhelming. It can be overwhelming to realize that people are doing the best version of themselves, even though it is so damaging, not only to them, but to everyone around them and other beings as well, and the earth. And it's somewhere we've all got to go. It's painful. It's painful to know that we have been living this distortion. And, you know, if it's not painful, then again, somebody who cannot look at that and feel that, there's something going on there, a coping mechanism of denial, because we have to go into these shadow, what we call shadow emotions. We have to go into the grief. We have to go into the anger and heal it. It has to come out, because otherwise it is poisoning us. It is doing damage to us. It's creating ill health within us. So the Skywalker, day 6, coming into balance with that. What's created heaven for me? What's created hell for me? And how do I feel that, grieve that, let all that emotion out as much as I can, whenever I can, and recognize what has created that, and how can I change that for myself, and then share that process with other people who are ready to do the same. And that's why I believe that we're here and connecting to our tribes at this time. But whenever we connect to people with a different level of consciousness who aren't doing healing, who don't understand any of what I just said, then it's going to be impossible to have any sort of relationship with them on a conscious level, because they are not willing to go there. And that can change as they change, because we're all changing all the time, whether we believe that we are or not. There's a process running through us. We're like a rock in a river. And for some people, that may take many lifetimes for that rock to change, but it will change, because that's the nature of the universe. Things do not stay the same. Okay, so as we mentioned yesterday, saying we, as I mentioned yesterday, this Libra thing. So this eclipse, very significant in terms of the astrology and how it affects us on a personal level. And I'm not going to go into, I don't have time in the video to go into all the astrology about it. Whatever was happening for you, this is key to the next cycle that will be starting on the 20th. So take notes, review it, because this is what you're going to be working with. And again, so what was resonating for you around themes of disempowerment, and what was actually happening, and how it made you feel, and how it was a match for the past. and how the universe will keep bringing us the dynamics that reflect our belief systems, because that's how it works. And so just to be brave and to face whatever's going on and look at our role in it and what it's showing us. Remember, we are in a year 5 of the 13-year cycle, so we're mastering our empowerment issues. So of course they're going to come up. And again, you can work out exactly what this code is for you and what was happening for you in your life and how you're going to be working with this whole 13 years. And specifically, what you're going to be mastering this year. So again, for me, this was the year 2001. And that was a very significant year for the planet as well, with what happened and also what's repeating now in terms of what happened in America on September the 11th in 2001, and what that meant for humanity and what beliefs that created, and also how that is at its next stage with the events in the world right now. There's a bigger picture pattern going on. And we have to believe that this is for our evolution if we are to have faith and trust. All of this is happening for a reason. It's a process we have to go through, this death and rebirth process, so we evolve and we come into being the stars that we really are in a way that is already written. So today, Blue Eagle, who am I as a planetary server? The way I perceive this is I am here to get clear and embody the new energy coming in and live it. To integrate my story, to illuminate my personal human being self so that I can create a life of heaven on earth for myself more and more, and accept that there are things in life that are painful, loss of people that we love, for example, and that if we really want to experience intimacy and love and connection, then we have to be prepared to have our hearts broken over and over again until we eventually come to a place where we are able to have non-attachment, which takes a great deal of inner work. And we may not achieve that in this lifetime. Otherwise, if we choose to close our hearts and avoid people and intimacy, then we are going to live a very lonely life. Human beings, I believe, are meant to be with each other and with other beings and experience joy. And I have experienced this many, many times in my life, and I still do. And I'm open to the universe showing me more and more connections and bringing in more surprises, like Ra, who has caused a lot of drama. I just wish you could see him running around here. So again, sometimes I can get to a place where I just got things running smoothly, and then the universe brings in something else to challenge me, and that's life, isn't it? You know. Okay, so, and then it's how I respond to that. So then tomorrow we have got the number 9 day, the day of going to the next level, which is yellow warrior, yellow solar warrior, and the planet is Saturn. The gateway through is to become aware of our Saturn patterns that happen when we are around the age 28, 29, 30, and then 60, and then 90 if we're still here. And Saturn in Pisces right now. And this is my second Saturn return. So how do I look at my bigger picture of what was happening when I became a mum and for the first time, and then how am I still experiencing some of these patterns now, and how do I want to work wisely with those? Red Earth is day 10. So the manifestation, where am I on planet Earth? What's coming to light? Uranus in Taurus right now. What's coming into light? Taurus energy. And so where am I? What am I doing? Again, I have chosen to move to places. A lot of people are being displaced and being made to move. That is a very, very ancient pattern and very ungrounding for people, and causes huge trauma because human beings like to be rooted, apart from nomadic tribes, of course, but generally like to make their own choices about where they want to move and why they want to move, moving towards rather than being pushed somewhere because they're being bullied. And look at the patterns over the financial patterns as well over the replay. 2008, 2009, when Pluto came in around those dates, Pluto in Capricorn, we're seeing how, again, some people control other people's destiny, and how people are really part of that dance as well, and how to get out of that dance, how to come into empowerment and away from codependence, because it's very dehumanizing a lot of the time. So then we go to number 11, which is white mirror, white spectral mirror. White mirror is connected to red dragon because they both have the planet Neptune. Becoming aware of our distortions, our illusions, our delusions, often coping mechanisms. We don't want to see what's going on, that there are some people ruling the planets who play the role of Pluto, play the role of Hades, abductors, people who are powerful, are dark, who create death for people and death structures for people. And how that has happened in our own life as well, around the age of 18 and a half, the North Node. Again, this eclipse is in the South Node in Libra, currently on the planet. Knowing what your nodes are, knowing what your patterns are at 18 and a half, and every 18 and a half years since. Every 9 years, in terms of, I mentioned earlier about year 9, past life patterns, past life karma. So we're in a past life karmic eclipse right now, and how some people are living that explicitly without any shadow healing having happened. They're running the full program, and you can see that. Other people are at different levels of running a program. And look up program as well in connection to what's happening right now if you're not aware of programs, because this stuff that's happening today is not new. It's all very ancient, and it's been designed to oppress and suppress. And so again, as much as we want to make these changes with laws, with behaviors, with strategies, if we do not heal, just think about this logically, if you don't heal it, the universe is going to keep bringing it for you until you do. That's all I know. That's what I know, what I've experienced. It has to happen that way because that's how it's wired. It is what it is. Then we have day 12, which is blue storm. And again, as I mentioned, that's one of the planetary patterns. So we go into a blue storm year in 8 years. We will have completed White Wizard, and the 9th year, 9 years from now, we will be in a blue storm. So let's hope that people are really making this shift now. And of course they are. Some people are. Let's trust the divine wisdom that's moving us all to birth the new earth. Finally, we have yellow cosmic sun, and that's with a portal day. So that's always a big day. Blue storm and yellow sun, both Pluto patterns. See, we're turning around. There he is. So he, as a kitten, a young kitten, he's about 9 weeks old now. He's fearless. He's fearless with the dog. He's fearless with the other cats. He's just a million miles an hour running around. But that also means that he creates trauma for himself because he runs into things, don't you? And he's, very much biting things. He's just broken my mum's TV, for example. He just jumped on it, not realizing, he doesn't know what it is, obviously. But again, this is the same for us as human beings. Did you know what it was going to mean for you in this lifetime? What it was going to mean for you being in certain relationships with people? How much joy that was going to bring? I never planned to be a mum. I never could possibly know what it was like to give birth until you do it. It doesn't matter how many videos you watch or how much people tell you. This is an embodiment process that we're in. We have to do it. And often it's painful and we get bumped and we get hurt along the way. Some experiences we choose, we may regret and think, wow, I wish I hadn't done that, because I had no idea what that meant. And I remember the enormity of being a parent, just how huge that was when I first held my son, who's a blue eagle, blue magnetic eagle. And, the journey that I was going to go on with him, it was overwhelming. It was absolutely overwhelming, that responsibility for me. And I know a lot of people that don't feel that. They don't have that depth of feeling. They don't feel overwhelmed by it. They don't experience things in the same way at all. And you know, I feel a huge responsibility for this little guy and trying to do the right thing for him. You know, should I have kept him even? You know, how was it going to accept? How was it going to upset the other animals? What impact was it going to have on other people in the family? And at the same time, I recognise that it all happens for a reason, yes, but also not to use that as a cop out. We make choices and then we see what happens. And the more and more we can become consciously aware of them rather than just accepting, I got my words out today, accepting what other people tell us when they have an agenda. You know, a lot of people don't care. They don't care about other people as long as they are okay and they're making money. And that's not cynical, it's true. This is what we're seeing on the planet now. We've got a group of human beings, bloodlines, that have got wealthy, that have decided that they are superior to everybody else, and that they get to tell everybody else how they're going to live, how the whole planet's going to work out. And people are still believing that these people, you know, are superheroes. It's like, well, you know, did they ask you if that's what you wanted? If that's how you wanted to live? Did they ask you about any of this? Did they even understand the implications? Did they understand the long term of creating these wonderful things that we have now, supposedly wonderful things, that we haven't really seen or tested or over any length of time, to see if they are safe, to see if, how, you know, and again, a lot of the time, it's only through time. It's only going through these cycles time and time again that we get to see what that actually creates in order to know that. And now that we have technology, now that we have the ability to connect to people all over the globe, to see truth, it's all now trying to be suppressed because people are realizing, hey, you know, I don't have to live like this. This is somebody else's plan. This is a sick plan. It's not something that I actually want to put my energy into, and I'm not going to. And so because people are becoming more sovereign and more empowered, then people who rely on them, who rely on their energy to have all their wealth and all their power and all their things done for them, that's not going to be available to them anymore. So now's the time, over this next 2 weeks before we come into this full moon in Taurus, which is always a huge time because that means we're in the Scorpio sun. We're in power tripping, power issues, survival, manifesting, practical mode. We're seeing the culmination of where we are since the sun was in Taurus. And so it's going to be really super intense. So start doing all the things that you need to do to make sure that you are centered as much as you can. Start to grid in and get doing that inner work every day, because Persephone is down in the underworld. We're all down in the underworld now. What we do over the next 6 months will determine the next solar wheel that we are on. And all you got to do is focus on yourself as a priority. Don't wear yourself out. Don't burn yourself out. Practice self-care first. Don't let other people push you. steal your dream. Remember how powerful you are. Learn all the tools that you need to get clear within. Learn EFT, tap more and more. It works. Everything else works as well. It doesn't work in the same way that EFT does if you use it specifically on your triggers and to remove these trauma stories. So lots of love to you. I hope that this has made some sense. Oh, before I go, I'm just going to pull some cards for today. Remember, it's always about you on one level. This is the holograph of you. Wherever you go, this is the holograph of you. So I'm just going to pick some cards for today. And today, again, is what needs to integrate so we can align with this new cosmic code coming in. So again, that's number 4, measure the structure, self-existing. We're going into self-existing moon in 2 days' time. So we're going to be shown all our codependent issues. Self-existing in this 13-day process is blue monkey, as I said. So wherever we've got child issues, this is where we've got to focus on the triggers. So, you know, if you have belief systems that you need somebody else, okay, so strife. Yeah, well, I like that one. Okay, so strife, 5 of Wands. So going back to Yellow Human Day, Mastery Day. What am I mastering as a human being around strife? What has created strife for me in my life? And tap on it. Oppression. So number 10. So the 10th day is coming up in 2 days' time. Again, if you Google these, I use, remember these are Thoth cards and not regular tarot. Okay, so EliStrikinglyTarot.com. Okay, so belief systems around oppression, very much evident right now. So 10 of discs. Now, within that, you can see there's a structure there. These are all the Kabbalah, the tree of life, whatever you want to call it. And you can see there is a structure. If you look this card up, it will give you the structure of what creates wealth. Inner wealth, inner gold, inner sovereignty. That's what we're looking for. The moon. The moon story, the emotional story. So again, a very deep card. Card 18, and that relates to White Mirror, which is where are our delusions and illusions, our projections, and how do we get clear of them? So just remember those times when you were confident, when you were clear, when you were on track with your heart's desire, where you felt good, you felt healthy. There's some big clues there. So lots of love to you all. See you in the next spin. Bye for now.